Amy Trask is our guest this morning on the program. Amy, good morning.
Well, good morning, and it's always my pleasure to join you. And as I just tweeted, now I get to actually say hi over the phone rather than just in writing. So hi.
Hi, that's right. Very high. Very, very good morning, and a very nice hi to you as well, Amy. And I have been really losing it on the fact that Raiders fans, who are some of the best in the NFL, don't know whether Monday night will be the last game ever in Oakland. To me, that in limbo, that question should never happen. They should have known whether this was the final year or whether next year will be the final year. How do we get to a place where this fan base doesn't know what's going to happen on Monday night?
Yeah, wow. Now, look, I would not be the least bit surprised if the team does remain in Oakland next year. That's not to suggest it will. I don't know if it will. But to those who have suggested that because the city has sued the organization can't remain, I would say that's not correct. Parties to litigation can enter into a reservation of rights agreement where they continue to do business with one another while reserving their rights in the litigation. And look, the league has put a back end on the team of late January, early February to let it know where it will be playing. And from a cash flow standpoint, in terms of selling tickets, the team's got to make a decision quickly. So from a logistical and operational perspective, staying in Oakland makes a lot of sense, and it would be the right thing to do for the fans in that area.
We absolutely know it's the right thing to do for the fans, but right now, do you think the NFL cares about doing the right thing by the fans, considering they've got one foot out the door anyway going to Las Vegas?
Well, you know, when you say the NFL, there are different views within the league, but you are 100% right. You stated that perfectly. The team has already gotten permission from the league. I think it wasn't 32-0. I think it was 31-1 to move. So the league has signaled, okay, you can move. So your point is well taken, but I do know that there are some within the league that would like the team to remain there next year.
Amy Trask is our guest here on this morning's DA show on CBS Sports Radio. I am obviously passionate about this, so I am willing to admit I might be clouded by emotion here. I think it's been ridiculous that the NFL has not gone to greater lengths to make up whatever financial shortfalls there have been in San Diego for stadium renovations or a new stadium, as well as in Oakland. I think they've wanted to just basically chase free stadiums, and Stan Kroenke's going to build one at his own dime, and Vegas is going to give them one. Do you feel like the NFL has done enough in those municipalities to try to find solutions?
I think it's municipality by municipality specific. I think that there are some locations in which the league has worked very hard to find a solution. I don't believe that's the case in some of the locations you just mentioned. And, you know, at the end of the day, there is sometimes an unintended consequence to business decisions. And we will see what the pushback is from fans to these moves over time.
In other words, in Oakland, yes, I realize they're apart on the finances of building a new stadium in Oakland. But I kind of feel as though the NFL said, well, you know, we could go in and make up a shortfall of $100 or $200 or $300 million, but there's a free stadium sitting in Las Vegas, and you know what? Vegas would be kind of cool to be in, and we've already got a team in the Bay Area anyway, so why not? Do you think they exhausted everything they could have to keep the Raiders in Oakland?
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost you. I heard you after to keep, but I know where you're going with that. So, you know, let me answer it this way. There was also another solution. I mean, if you define Oakland, which I think is a magnificent market, the site on which the Oakland Coliseum is located is, in my view, the best site in all of the NFL. It is on a major artery. It's right in the middle of a major, major region, and it is the best served from public transportation. So I love that site. But there's also a brand new stadium within what the league defines as the team's primary market. The league says the team has a primary market, which is the 75-mile radius, a secondary market, which I think is a 150-mile radius. Well, Santa Clara is roughly 30 miles. I think I measured it on my little odometer, and it was 32 miles from Oakland. So there's the issue as to whether the team could have stayed in Oakland, but the broader issue is, should the league have been more insistent that the team follow the guidelines and exhaust all remedies within that 75-mile radius?
Exactly, because it sounds like right now the 49ers are open to at least leasing for the next year the Raiders at Santa Clara in Levi Stadium. But the Raiders have been adamant against that, correct? I mean, it sounds like Mark Davis says, over my dead body, we're going to be playing in a 49er stadium.
Right, and I do want to make one thing clear, because when I speak about the possibility that the teams could have shared, I get a lot of pushback from people who say, but the Raiders shouldn't have to play in someone else's stadium. Well, when I was having stadium discussions with the 49ers, back while I was with the team, that was before they had picked a site and before they had designed the stadium. Those discussions continued once they had picked the site, but it was very clear during our discussions that if we were to share, it would be a jointly designed, jointly created venue. So it wouldn't be all red and gold. There would be both team colors and both teams' inputs. It would be designed collectively. So I like to make clear that I wasn't simply saying go play in the 49er stadium, but rather team up and build one together. Look, these are big, big, big buildings. And not only they are expensive, there are environmental issues associated with that. How great for the environment if you build one and two teams share it.
And the Jets and Giants did that at MetLife Stadium. The Jets were tenants of the Giants for a long time at Giant Stadium, but now they are co-tenants of MetLife Stadium. So there is a protocol that they could have followed for that. Amy Trask joins us this morning on the show. I think my question is, since you have very intimate knowledge of the situation in Oakland, do you think that Oakland itself was particularly impossible to find a solution? Because that's what defenders of the Raiders going to Vegas would say. Hey, the NFL couldn't have helped this because it's just too tough to do business in Oakland finding a stadium. Did you feel that way?
I'm going to answer that. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive, and I will answer it this way. Yes, Oakland is a tough municipality with which to work for a lot of reasons. But that said, sometimes business is tough. And I do believe there was a solution to be found. But I do want to underscore, Oakland was tough to deal with. Not necessarily because they intended to be tough. I'm not saying tough in a negotiating standpoint. There wasn't a lot of clarity in a number of situations. But do I believe there was a solution to be found in Oakland? Yes, I do. Solutions take compromises. They take compromises by everyone. Look, the organization has compromised on a number of issues by going to Vegas, particularly with respect to some stadium logistics it was not willing to compromise on in Oakland. So would there have had to be concessions made all around? Of course. That's how you do deals. Could it have been done? I believe so.
My gut tells me that we won't know whether Christmas Eve is the final game there, and it'll be kind of this 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then sometime in January or February, as you said, they'll decide to go one more year because cooler heads will prevail, and there's just not a better option. Would you say that's the highest likelihood of the Raiders in 2019?
That we won't know by Christmas Eve, or that they will stay in Oakland?
Both. We won't know by Christmas Eve, but they eventually will stay for 1 year at the Coliseum.
Well, I will note this. If the decision is to leave, they're not going to announce that, I don't believe, before Christmas Eve. Why would you do that before the game? If they do know for surely sure that they're going to stay, then they should announce it immediately. I believe it is very likely that the team stays. I mean, look, it is hard operationally to be living in one place and playing games in another. We did that when Al moved the team from Los Angeles to Oakland. And our first year back in Oakland, we lived in L.A., we practiced in L.A., and every single game, therefore, required a plane flight. That's tough on a team. It's a competitive disadvantage, or it can be. So I think it's likely the team stays in Oakland, but we'll see how it plays out.
My final point is I heard your impassioned plan for what the Raiders should do if this is their final game, and that involves this tremendous kind of thank you to the fans of Oakland, to the city of Oakland. And you said there should be a concert series that has all these Oakland artists, including Hammer and Too Short. And I just wanted to know, have you ever been to a Hammer or Too Short concert?
Okay, well, I'm going to answer that in a minute, but I do want to say I was a little rushed during that presentation, and I feel horribly because I did mention Hammer, who I love, and I mentioned Too Short, and I mentioned Adam Duritz from Counting Crows, but I didn't have time to mention E40 or Carlos Santana or Metallica. So, yes, I do think there should be a fan festival. They should open those parking lots early. There should be music around, concessions, but not alcohol, should be courtesy of the team, and it should be a full day thank you salute to the fans. And, yes, I went to a Hammer concert at the Los Angeles Forum back in the day. It was early. I mean, it was a while ago, and it was the Too Legit to Quit tour, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever attended.
You know, the vision of Amy Trask in Hammer pants in 1992 at a Hammer concert just makes my entire morning and my holiday season. So, salute.
Well, excuse me 1 minute.
Yeah.
I might have been dancing, but I wasn't wearing Hammer pants.
You can watch Amy Trask for the NFL coverage on CBS, and then, of course, on CBS Sports Network as well. Tops that other pregame show. They do tremendous work over there, and follow her on Twitter, especially with everything happening with the Raiders. She's a really very, very valuable resource on Twitter at Amy Trask. She's always very kind to everybody, and I say that seriously, which is a breath of fresh air on Twitter. So, Amy, thanks for being who you are. Thanks for the time this morning, and I can't wait to catch up again.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to see you in Atlanta when CBS has the Super Bowl down there, and now I'm going to go listen to some Hammer.
Okay, nice. Amy Trask joining us this morning